Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Whole Woman Show. Today, I am grateful to have you guys joining me, and I have my guest, Mrs. CARYL LASHLEY, and she is an arbitrator, she's a barrister, she's a mediator, and she's a lot of other things. But when we come back from our commercial break, I'm going to let her just introduce herself, and we're going to get to find out all the things that she does. And the topic we're talking about today is how important relationships are, having good relationships, and how you're dealing in this pandemic. So if I were you, I'd stay tuned. I want to be here to get this information because it's very relevant and pertinent in this time. We'll be right back.
You could go ahead and tiptoe through your life, digging in the dirt, you can stress on the strife, but I'm gonna fly past the worry and the pain today. I'm flying on faith, flying on faith. I'm flying on faith. You could cry all night.
I can carry all that you've got. Two heavy hearts is not a lie. I will put out all of the fire. We stumble and fall, and it's not a lie that I die. I can hide what this is. Yeah, keep drowning in those blue eyes, and you can tell me all of your lies. I will put out all of the fire if it gets too dark. I'll be your light. Your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I'll be your.
This is gonna suck. Biore charcoal cleansers suck out 2 times more dirt, oil, and impurities. That's why Biore charcoal sucks. Better. Biore. Free your pores.
Welcome back, everyone. Before I went to the break, I was telling you a little bit about Mrs. LASHLEY, and she's here to talk to us about a topic that I think is very relevant to all of us in this season. Miss LASHLEY, I am so privileged and so happy to have you with me.
Thank you very much. I too am privileged and proud and happy to be with you. And I thank you for inviting me.
This is I wanted to have you here because I know that you have a lot to bring to the table. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump right in to you explaining to people all the experiences you have. So when you speak on this topic, they know you know what you're talking about. You're a barrister by profession for more than 40 years. Let's talk a little bit about that portion of your life.
Well, that portion of my life continues, and it's been very good to me and for me. But in litigation is a win or lose story. And after a while, I realized that everything doesn't need to have a winner and a loser. And relationships definitely matter. I mean, my mom always said relationships mattered, and she was always very much a huge proponent of relationships. So I just got into it eventually, and I guess, especially now that she's gone, I took over her place, and I recognize that, and I'm telling the other ones, those who come after me, relationships matter, and we just have to do our part. It's not somebody else to do, it's us. We got to do our part.
Yes. You as a barrister, you've been a part of and still are a part of many prestigious organizations in the country. Let's talk about those. Let's talk a little bit about some of the organizations and some of the things you've been doing through those organizations.
Well, at the bar, I've tried to be as active as possible. I've been on the bar council as secretary for some years, and I've tried to be on various committees and to lend a hand wherever I could to promote what we stand for, to promote the profession, to promote the integrity of the bar, to demystify what the bar and barristers would be about, and also to uplift those who think bad things, I guess, about barristers, and put you all in one box, and so we don't need to be in one box. And then, apart from that, there are several other professional organizations that are adjunct to that, like FIDA. We have a International Federation of Women's Lawyers. I'm a part of that, and we do very little, but it's an organization that I think is important. We have a Freeport branch that does tremendously well. They give a lot of scholarships and they do a lot of other stuff. And that's why we today don't do as much as we could, but we're plugging along. And then there are other things like Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners. So there's so many organizations, professional, that you could keep your hand in, keep your education going. And I think that's really a big part of it, that we have to not decide that once we're qualified, we're done. Once we're qualified, we just have to start. I know when I started, Eugene DePuch, he said to me, he said, okay, Tony, now you called to the bar. I'm doing lessons on a Saturday morning from, I think it was 10 to 1. So that's what I want you to do. And I was like, what? I just came back, just got called to the bar. He said, you got called to the bar, but there's a lot of stuff you don't know. I said, okay. And so I went, and I mean, it's the truth. We get called to the bar and we get past these levels and think we did what we have to do, but we really have to keep learning. And so that's really a big part of it.
Now, the good thing is you had a mentor. The good thing you had a mentor, and he fed into you, because you have some persons, you're there with them and they don't know what respect who you are, and they don't care for you to be any better than you are, because they want you to stay underneath them. Hence the relationship thing we talk about.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. The one thing he always said was, profession is profession, and you got to be professional to be in a profession.
Yeah, and that's the truth. That's it. Yeah, you have back in the day you had some good profession. That's true. Back in the day you had some good mentors and people who really cared, but nowadays, boy, it's a difficult journey, because most people trying to keep their position and they ain't trying to help you to be no better. It's an interesting thing that's going on in our society today. In addition to being a barrister at law for more than 40 years, you are also an arbitrator and a mediator. Now, those two words right there in our society, they carry a lot of weight, because arbitration and mediation is something that I think needs to be taught in the schools, need to be taught in our government establishments, everywhere, because those two things right there can make the world go around. In addition to love, everything will be just fine in the world. Let's talk about your journey in arbitration and mediation. Let's talk about some of the things that you've experienced.
Right. Well, in arbitration, what we find is an arbitrator really is pretty much like a judge. You make a decision. Mm-hmm. And in mediation, what we do is facilitate a conversation. We try to make people sit down and talk, communicate, determine, dig deep down and find out what's really wrong and how to fix it. But you got to fix it yourself. I can't fix it for you. But you have to be a little bit vulnerable even to make sure you find out what the thing is that bothers you. And once you find that out, then you have to say to the other party, you know, this is what bothers me. You didn't do me anything. It bothered myself. And so we have to recognize that we got to stop blaming people and take it on ourselves. And as a mediator, what we try to do is do some fact checking. You know, is that really what happened? Is that really what you want? Or is that a mask? Remove the mask. Don't put a Band-Aid on it. Let's let's get it resolved. And it is going to get resolved in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month, but it'll get resolved. But you have to want it. You have to want it.
Yes.
And so
The
that's it.
thing,
You have to want it.
I think that I look at what you're saying, and I look at all the violence and all the things that are going on in our country, even in terms of relationships, because um, that's not being able to come to a happy medium is the basic um, underlying problem with most relationships, any relationship you could think of. You and I were talking off screen earlier before we got came live, and we were talking about relationship and how it would be easier if you just became amicable and decided to do what you needed to do. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of having a good relationship. Let's talk about the importance of that.
That's key. That's key in every sphere of our lives. It's key at home. It's key at work. It's key when you go to the supermarket when the boys packing your groceries. It's how we conduct ourselves, really, And a good relationship, I don't know what that means to me or it means to you, but a good relationship is where we are comfortable and the other person is comfortable, and there's little, and I'm not going to say there's none, but there's a little only of bad faith, because we're human, so we can have some bad faith sometimes. I'm not going to say, oh, everything's going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. But we got to recognize it and call ourselves out. Oh, doggone it. I should not have said that. So sorry about that.
Well, the thing about it is
that
I think one of the things that I think that is important about having a good relationship is the fact that it's the basis for your harmony in your life. It's the basis for your being whole as an individual person. Because if you're living your life in chaos and turmoil in the relationships, whether it be marital, any relationship, I think it affects your life. And then it affects your balance and what you believe and where you're going in your life. Because once you're off balance in those areas, it's hard to focus in other areas to move to the places that you need to move. Is that making sense?
Absolutely. And we have to recognize it. And sometimes we don't recognize it. But when we don't, even if we recognize it the next day, we got to come back and say, boy, yesterday, something, when I got home, I realized yesterday I was crotchety. Or, what happened yesterday? You've got to come back and fix it. And unless we come back and fix it, whoever you were crotchety to, they went off a little bit irritated and say, what the heck was wrong with her? And yes, it's not fixed. And so we have to come back and fact check ourselves and see what we did right, what we did wrong, get it together. And I think that's really a big part of the relationship. And the communication, we got to say, oh, I did so and so, and I have no clue why I did that. So you got to ask for forgiveness.
That's the problem right there, because I think that many of us we have so much pride and we have so much we're so stuck on ourselves thinking that we're somebody that we don't think we should be saying we're sorry or telling somebody we're sorry. And that's the thing, I think, for a lot of us that causes the problem, because we think we're somebody, as opposed to thinking, one of the things, if you think other people are valuable, then you would want to treat them. I tell people all the time, I treat people how I want to be treated. You know?
Absolutely.
We have to come out of ourselves, and you're saying that you say it like it's just like, because you practice it and it works for you. That's not easy. That's not easy for plenty people. You know that, right?
Yeah, but nothing's easy. That's the whole point. It wasn't easy to talk when we learned to talk. You got to practice and practice and practice. When you start to walk, we practice and practice and practice. And the same thing, when we want to be communicating in good faith without violence, we got to practice it. And when we fall down and make a mistake, we got to get up and say, oh, doggone it, I fell down. Got to get this together.
Yeah. And
I still have to get it together. And I've been doing this for 10 years. But you have to get it together. And it's not in one day. And so we have to say, I didn't get that together. Man, look here. And it doesn't have to be today. You could find out tonight when you get home. And when you say, you know something? Yes, your last week, whatever, but go back and fix it. And until we keep going back and fixing it, we're not going to get it right.
The thing about it is, I think
as you say, we think.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, you
You,
started off saying, we think we're somebody, so we don't want to apologize. But if
yes,
we think we're
yes.
somebody, we have to apologize. We have to say, I am somebody, so I have to be upfront and deal with integrity with these people. And what we're really saying is, I got to deal with integrity with myself. Because if I don't deal with integrity with myself, I can't possibly deal with integrity with you.
Yes.
And
The
so
thing
some of these things, even like getting up in the morning, getting to work early, you say, man, I'm so tired today. And you're going to work late. Why are we going to work late? We're supposed to be there at 9. Why are we going to be at 9:15 or 9:30? Get there for 9 o'clock and get to work. And that
yeah,
conflict is a conflict within ourselves. It has nothing to do with anybody. So we got to fix
that's it.
ourselves before we can fix somebody else. And that's it.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly what I wanted to say because I was gonna say it comes from you having to do the stuff you to do the work in you. And see, I keep saying that that's the problem right there because I know I look when you look around society and you look at what's happening and what's going on, it's like everybody's just angry and everybody's just blaming everybody for everything and going out and fighting and carrying on because it's like for us, we never see ourselves as doing anything wrong. You understand that? And I tell my children all the time, even though in any relationship it's two people. So if it's two people, that means that it's each of us have to hold our own pie. And that right there is it takes growth and it takes work from the inside. Because
That's it. I
because
mean,
unless
people,
you yeah, you're a little
unless, I
delayed,
mean, we
so it's
say, oh, okay. We say, oh, so and so make me so mad. People do
mm,
not make us mad. We make ourselves mad. Now, something might have happened, and so
mm,
the end result is I am mad. Why am I mad? I am mad because such and such a thing happened. Whether you were participating in what happened or not, this is why I'm mad. But you didn't make me mad. Being
mm.
mad is a choice. I could decide to be mad, or I
Yes,
could
yes.
decide I can let this go.
I'm on that run.
That's it.
Listen, let's take your topic we're talking about today is relationships and then how you're surviving in this pandemic with your relationships because believe it or not this pandemic has shifted the world for everyone and there is a time and there's a place in our lives right here in the Bahamas where we're locked down and you're locked down with someone in many cases for some persons because I was telling you a story off air about a young woman who was saying when the lockdown happened that she was being mentally abused. The person was not physically hitting her, but they were constantly telling her she's no good, you're nothing, you're nobody, you'll never accomplish that sort of thing. And being in that, let's talk about relationships and being in this pandemic as a husband and wife. What are some of the things that you think need to happen?
One of the first things that has to happen is we have to understand ourselves and we have to determine that the language that we use is calm language, that the language that we
Mm,
use is not violent. So even if we're with a person who is mentally or verbally abusing us, we cannot retaliate. We have
mm.
to not continue the fight because it takes two people to fight. So we have to then take a deep breath, dig deep, and say something positive. I
Mm,
wish that I were happier today. If I did so and so, I would feel better. Do not go about what the other person did. Don't rail against them. We gotta internalize it and articulate something positive for ourselves. And then, I know it's hard. It's hard. I can't say anything more than it's hard.
it is.
But we have to practice.
Yes.
We have to practice it. But we have to want to. And we have to then say, you know what? Doggone it, I forget, and I didn't do that yesterday. And so today I'm going to make a bigger effort not to get riled up and not to get upset. And God made us all equal. We know that.
Yes.
He's not any
The
better
thing,
than
the
me.
thing the thing about it is though, I hear what you're saying, and see, I'm gonna like be like I ain't gonna say the devil's advocate, but I'm gonna like throw you like deal with realistic perspectives here. Because when you look at being in a relationship with someone who you've been married to, let's say for 20 years, 10, 15 years, and they've constantly been picking and nagging and doing what they're doing at you. And when the world was opened, you could move away and get yourself out of the situation and feel better and come back to the situation and deal with it differently. But in this pandemic season, when you're locked, stock, and barrel in a room with someone, and there's nowhere for you to go. The truth of the matter is being nice and being kind and saying, I made a mistake and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, that. That's the reality, and it's difficult to get persons' minds to change because they're literally going through that situation. Persons who are alcoholics, because if you listen to the news and you read the newspapers, the statistics are showing even internationally that abuse has gone up during this season, during this time in relationships, and that right there, and it's not just abuse husband to wife, my wife to husband, because it's going both sides, they say.
Both
It's
sides.
even abuse to children, So what would you say? I know you just spoke to what they need. Let's The reality is that's what's happening. What do you speak to those persons in those types of situations that are just trying to start out, not who've been in the 10 years that you've been practicing this? What is the first step you would say to a wife if a husband is not abusing, but not physically, but emotionally and in other ways? What would be the first thing you would say, step she can take? Because we got to do this in baby steps.
Right. We got to keep saying,
Bring your
articulating.
mediation and your arbitration to the table for me.
We have to talk it. We have to talk it aloud. We cannot pretend it doesn't happen. We have to say, oh, I am unhappy today. Oh, this is what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make some rules. And so I know I'm not perfect, but I'd like us to try something else, because whether we like it or not, we're stuck.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, we don't have no money because I'm not working or you're not working or whatever's going on. A lot of changes. Whether you like it or not, kids are here, no school. So we have to put in place some rules and some things to make things a little easier for everybody. And one of the things is we have to say, okay, if you have 3 children, each of you all have 2 hours each on your own, free to watch whatever you want to watch on the TV, or free to use the computer, or free to talk to your friends on the phone, or free to just be in the room by yourself, so you could go talk to your friend with not anybody bothering you. And so we really have to just articulate aloud every day the same thing until it's a little bit of a normal thing. Because in the first 5 days or 7 days that you articulate it, it's not normal. You have to remind yourself to do it until you get the hang of it. It's practice makes perfect. And until we get that practice makes perfect, we will not do it. Because tomorrow, it might be an easier day. And so I'll forget that I need to be kind to one of the children, because child number 2 didn't articulate that he didn't get his 2 hours free time or 2 hours his time. And I forgot. And so really, I let everybody down because I'm trying to put in place some things. And I didn't even go back and so then I need to go back and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, this is what I did. So you could have 2 extra hours, or you could have my 2 hours or whatever. But we got to be open enough and adult enough. And I say adult, and it's not really adult. Open enough, I guess, is what it is, to say, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. I was so caught up in this, or caught up in myself, or caught up with something else. I forgot you. And nothing's wrong with forgetting.
No, it's nothing wrong with it. But the thing about it is, one of the things that I talk about all the time. My show is called The Whole Woman. My business is The Whole Woman Network. And when you're talking about being whole, especially, and I have to be careful how I say this, because I do a disclaimer here at The Whole Woman. We love men. So we're not going to leave them out of the equation. And I like the fact that you said that you do the 2 hour or whatever the decisions are. I like that, because I think that would make sense, and it would help to avoid all the arguing and the fussing. Because if you set the rules, this is something I like to stick a pin and then reiterate something that I think is important. I love how you said that, because if you set the rules, and the rules are not written in stone. I'm sure you're not talking about write them and that's it, and then you can't move it, because that would make no sense. That would cause an argument, I think. So
Right.
I think it's good that you set the rules. You everybody, not everybody, but as parents, husband, wife, you agree on what the rules are for your relationship. You say, okay, we're gonna set some rules because tonight we're gonna watch a movie together. Then tomorrow night I'll have my night. Then you have your night. Because if you're not whole as a person, as an individual person, you cannot be the part that you're meant to play for other people. You can't do it because you're broken. And what you're
Right.
saying is, yeah. And that's why I like what you're saying, because what you're saying is you have to do this for yourself first. And when you can do this for yourself first, then now you could take it over into taking it over to helping other people to become that. Am I on the right track with that?
That's it. Absolutely, 100%. You cannot help somebody if you have not helped yourself. So it starts with you. Fix you,
Yes.
and then you can fix the rest. And don't leave it for somebody else to fix you. They didn't make you unwhole. You allowed yourself to degenerate into less than wholeness. And so we have to now bring ourselves back up to speed, get back to strength, and then be in a position to say, this is what I'm going to do for me. And along the way, I'm going to be able to do it for my family. And along the way
Yes.
further, I'm going to be able to do it for my workmates. And then along the way further, I'll be able to do it for some other people. But gotta fix you first.
Yes. And that's when you say, because when we spoke, you said you wanted to talk about the importance of relationship across the board. Because I asked you if it was just marriages or whatever, but you say no, across the board, and being transparent across the board. Now, when you spoke about the working environment. In this season, this pandemic season, it is a difficult thing, and people are mentally, people are in trouble. A lot of persons are in trouble mentally because they're worried about how they're going to pay their bills. They're worried about how they're going to feed their children. They're worried about if they're going to keep their jobs in a lot of ways. Because every other day we're listening, we're locked down, we're open, businesses are closing. So this makes it very difficult. And so going back for the persons who are still working and who are going back to work, but are still faced with all the issues of this pandemic, what would you say to those persons going on the job? What would you say? And even before we get to the employees going on the job, let's talk about management. What are some of the things that you think management can do now in terms of relationship to help the employees coming back into the working environment?
Well, that's like asking what should the government do. I can't answer that because we only could speak for us. We believe that everybody should be like us. Everybody's not going to be like us. And so management, we need to talk to them first. We can't say this is what they should do. We don't know what they're going through. Maybe at home, their home is worse than our home. So they come to work.
That's true. That's true. We think because they're management or they have money or something that they're better off than we are, than the employees or we are, and it's not so. It's not. Everybody's
It's
going through
not.
something. But when I said that, I meant in terms of, in terms of being an employer, sure that the environment that the employees come into is a cultivated, safer one. I'm thinking in terms of when they come in, you ask them how they're doing and all that kind of stuff. Simple things. That's not asking them to break the bank or anything. But like you say, someone would need to come in and talk to them to make them understand. That's why I said your arbitration and your mediation is an amazing thing right now. Because I see people see that as just going into corporate or into big situations and taking up for the big client or taking up for a client. But if you could sit down in a room with some persons or have a medium where they can hear what you have to say, I think it can work wonders.
Right, but as I say though, we have to know that we only can speak for us. What we believe is good, our boss or the person who's in management, they believe it's good too, but they don't have it themselves. And so their home is a disaster. They have all the money in the world, but a disastrous home. And so when they come to work, they're still a little bit mad or still grouchy or still whatever. And but nobody goes to talk to them because they're bare. But so you need somebody who works there to say, I brought you a cup of tea today, or here's a snow cone from Mortimer's. Somebody got to reach out. And so it's not for them to reach out to us. Sometimes we got to reach out to them because they're catching more hell than us. And
That's
it has
true.
nothing to do with money.
No.
So we could build some real good relationships at work, but we have to start the conversation. And the conversation has to be a good, clean conversation with nonviolent language. So you can't go to them and say, oh, you always grouchy when you come to work. Or, oh, you never say good morning. Some people don't say good morning at home. So we have to start them into that way of communicating, into what we consider to be civil. They don't consider that because that is not their experience. But we have to make it happen, but it starts with us. So we don't expect them to do it first. We carry that ball.
Okay, I understand that.
That's about relationships.
Yeah, the thing it goes back to us being open to saying, let me lessen who I am. You understand what I mean? Let me lessen who I am and be kind and go to the boss and say, how's your day? Or here's the cup of tea, or here's the snow cone, or whatever. But for a lot of us, I keep going back to what you're saying about us having to do the work, because we have to do the work for us. And that's the thing that why I thought it was important for you to come here. In addition to what you're saying about saying do the work, let's talk about some of the things that you do that helped you to become this person that understands and feels differently towards being kind and building relationships. Let's talk about some of the things that you do.
Well, the thing is, I cannot do everything. There are a lot of things I can't do. I'm not technologically smart. But the thing is, you got to be able to work side by side with the people who work with you. That's one thing. You have to be able to not think you are, because you're the boss, or because you're better than them, or because you're making more money than them, or because whatever, you can't do the same thing they're doing. We got to be able to be on the same level. We got to be able to have our lunch together. We have to be able to have a conversation because we all have children. And that, from that perspective alone, the playing field is level. A parent is a parent is a parent. It doesn't care if you have $7 or $700. And so we got to make that work because we're all the same. And so we're not lessening ourselves if we want to do something else. I know my mom one day was sweeping. She was our office manager, and she was outside sweeping the foyer or whatever. And somebody said to her, "Oh, you're sweeping out here?" So she said, "Yeah, it was dirty, but they're not paying me less. They paid me my same money. So whatever I do, it doesn't matter. And they paid me to work from this hour to that hour. So what I do in here, it doesn't matter." But you get a lot of us who say, "Oh, they ain't paying me to do this," or "Oh, they ain't paying me to do that." And so our attitude isn't the right attitude. Because, and I know money means a lot of stuff, and it helps us to do a lot of stuff, but it doesn't make us the person we have to be or want to be, and it sure as anything else does not help us to make our children who we want them to be. Because those children go to schools, they're all on the same, and they're fighting. So we need to talk to them about equality of spirit. And so that's what we're talking about. You build relationships because we have the same breath that we're breathing, the same everything. And we got to help each other because our children are going to be in contact with other children, whether we have $5 and they have $0. That's what makes the playing field level. So we got to do it together. Relationships are what we have to build. And until we recognize that, the boss is going to do it first. The government's not going to do it first. We got to do it for ourselves and for our families and for our neighbors and for our workmates and carrying it on. That's what mediation is about. That's it.
Even when I look at the COVID situation that we're in right now, the pandemic, it's like you have people who are out there who they know, they already see what's happening. People are dying, and the healthcare workers are dying, and you still have some people who do not care one iota about going out and partying and doing the things that they do, thereby putting their family members' life at risk, the healthcare workers' life at risk, and they think nothing about it. I've said, I did a video that's going to play at some point during the show that says you have to think more, you have to think not just for yourself. You have to think about everyone else around you. There's a saying that if no matter what you do, if you rob somewhere, you didn't just rob somewhere and nobody's accountable for that. It isn't just you. Because if you go to jail, me as a Bahamian citizen have to pay for you to be in jail. Because that's my tax money that's paying for you to be in jail. So nothing you do, no, seriously, nothing you do is in isolation. And I think this is what people need to come to understand. If you start to not think about just you and you look at, oh, I have a mother. And if I do this robbery or if I murder this person, not just my family, me is going to be affected. His family is going to be affected. The person who you rob from, their family is going to be. We have to start exactly what you're saying is thinking beyond just you. And if you think about it logically, one step at a time and do it a little bit at a time, I think people could get it better than just being, you can't give them big chunks because I don't think they get the big chunks. I don't know if you understand what I mean. You have to do it a little bit at a time so that they can get it, because it becomes a point where you could talk like the prime minister is saying, wash your hands, do whatever. Yes, they've made mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line still is you need to wash your hand. You need to wear your mask. You need to social distance. Because if you don't do it because you're trying to spite him or not, it's going to affect you, not him, not them. So you now have to come to understand. Yes. So in this pandemic season, the people who are out there, they need to hear this and understand that you're accountable for you, but not just you. It's if you live in a house where another human being lives, you're accountable for that person that lives in that house where you live as well. You know?
I agree, but we have to give people some options. So they know that they might not reach that far. You have to be accountable for you first. But you got to say, you have to be accountable for you first. And these are your options. You didn't have to rob. This is what you could have done. You could have done A, you could have done B, you could have done C, you could have done E, F. You got to give some options so that they are aware, and they don't get the options every day. So we got to go over those options every day for about 2 weeks. These are the options.
Yes.
Don't do this. Don't do that.
Yes. Make it repetitive so that it can stick.
That's it. That's so important. We got to be repetitive. We can't say it today and hope that that's it. They got it, and I'm moving on. You got to come back and say, don't forget now, I told you this yesterday, but don't forget, you got to do this. And if you can't do that, then you got to think about this, that, or that, and try one of them. And if you don't get it, call me, and I'll try to help think of something else for you. But we don't take that time to assist people either, even with the conversation.
No.
And that's a part of it. You know, somebody will tell you, oh, man, I having such a bad day. And you'll say, oh, my, so sorry about that. And you dash.
I'm gone. Gone. Yeah. The thing is, though, I look at all the things, you know, I remember when people were littering and they would do all these PSAs and they'd put up all these big bulletin boards around town saying, please do not litter, please do not litter. And I look at this pandemic and we know that if your immune system is healthy, you're gonna be fine. You could fight it off. You could fight it off better. And I look at, and there's no PSAs, public service announcements that they've created that is now saying to people, just like you say, the repetitiveness of wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, build your immune system by taking this, and this. If you don't have this, use this, just like you say, give people options. There's none of those things. And I'm puzzled as to why that is so. Because at the end of the day, if you're talking about getting people to change and to move into the place where you want them to be, to understand what it is you're saying, that's valuable. Because repetitiveness, as you said, is the thing that makes it stick.
That is key. That is key. And but we got to look at how we're going to communicate, because for some people the PSAs work. For some people the PSAs do not work. And so we have to have some other ways of pushing that information forward. We have to have some other ways of building on the message.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't say, well, shucks, I already did them PSAs and they ain't listen to none of them, so no point doing anything else. We got to go to another thing. You see, that's, I think, what we have to do. We just got to keep on keeping on until we get it, until they get it. And it isn't that they don't get it. Some of them don't even think about it. It isn't that they don't care about their parents or
That's
they
what
don't
I'm
care about their
thinking.
Grammy.
Yes.
They don't get it. They care about their
Yes.
Grammy, but they don't even think that far. And so we have to break it down so they could say, if you do A, Grammy can get sick. If you do B,
Mm.
Grammy can get sick. If you do
Mm.
C, Grammy can get sick. And let me
Hey.
tell you, if you do A and Grammy gets sick, nobody can help Grammy because you did that to Grammy. And don't expect her to go to the hospital or don't expect this and then come to complain. You did not do your thing, so you caused Grammy to be in this position. And so we have to break it down so they really understand that when things happen bad to Grammy and the government didn't do this or the hospital didn't do the next thing, you know what? If you had done your stuff right, Grammy would have been right home watching TV. And so we have to ourselves just say the picture over and over and over and over and say it in love. We can't be rowing. We got to say it in love so they pick it up in a positive way.
You say, I tell you, you say it in love. Listen to me. I can tell you in this season, ain't too much, people saying stuff in love. It's like, listen to me. Get your Granny Parker in this house and don't you go back outside. But and when you say, let me stick a pin right here, because when you say that some of them don't think that fine, they don't get it. I understand. I believe you, because they don't. It's like they don't see. Again, it goes back to they don't see how they're connected to the whole picture. And that. And no, it's like they don't see how they're connected to the whole picture and the important part that they play in the whole picture. And I say this to my son all the time. Whatever you do, it affects all the people around you. And you have to be careful about that. And I try to reiterate that with my children, because at the end of the day, you have to go into a world, and that goes into the world is what you're saying. If you take it into the world, because now it goes into your work relationships, it goes into your friendships, it goes into your just meeting somebody at a gas station. As simple as meeting someone, friendships, relationships are valuable. Relationships could take you one single relationship, you're being kind to somebody and doing what it is you would want them to do to you, could be the difference, the world of difference. You going, somebody seeing you or appreciating you. This has happened to people all over the world. Just being kind to someone.
It happens.
Yes.
It happens all the time, all the time. But we have to recognize it.
I agree. We're going to take a break right here, and we're going to come back. And when we come back from the break, we're going to continue our conversation with Ms. Lashley concerning relationships and how people are coping in this pandemic. It is all about you as an individual person coming to understand who you are and how valuable you are. We could talk about it from that perspective when we come back from the break. We'll be right back.
This is gonna suck. Biore charcoal cleansers suck out 2 times more dirt, oil, and impurities. That's why Biore charcoal sucks. Better. Biore. Free your pores.
Hi, and we're back. Let me just take this opportunity to say thank you to BWA, Bahamas Wholesale Agency, and their Biore rose quartz and charcoal facial cleanser. They are sponsor of the Whole Woman Show. This is what it looks like, people. If you haven't tried it, you have to give it a try, because this product right here is causing me to have my glow, people, in addition to some other things that I'm doing. But this product, it really cleans. It is happening. Sorry about that. It went out for a minute. It really cleans your pores, and it causes your skin to be clean and beautiful. That's the BRA Rose Quartz and Charcoal Cleanser. And also a sponsor of the Whole Woman Show is the Black Opal Color Splurge Lipstick. That's the pink one that I have on that I wear so much. Lord, I do this lipstick bad. I speak this bad. It's a matte lipstick that has vitamin E, so it makes your lip really soft and moist, and it's really, really beautiful. You can't even see the effect of it on the camera. It's really, really beautiful, and they have some amazing colors, and I would encourage you to give it a try, because it's really good. And it's only, you could go to the leading drugstores around the town, like the various ones and the major ones, and you can get it from anywhere from $7 to $10, and it lasts a long time, because I've had it for a little bit. It lasts long, and I do a show every week, and I go in every other places, and even though I wear my mask sometimes, I still put on the makeup, because it does something for you. I still put it on sometimes, and still put the mask on just in my head to make me feel better. Thank you for being a sponsor for the Whole Woman Show, guys. I really appreciate it. Before we went to the break, we were talking about one of the things that I believe why people don't value relationships and try to make relationships work, even in this pandemic, is because they don't value themselves. Tell me how you feel about that, Miss Lashley.
I agree, but what we have to do is start. We have to encourage ourselves. We have to say on a daily basis, and then twice a day, then once a day, then twice a week, and that to build our own spirit. And so once we value ourselves, once we deal with the conflict that we have inside, and there is some conflict, because everybody has some good and some evil inside. We got to let the good come to the front. And once we do that, and that's a part of mediating. We got to mediate with ourselves. We got to find out from within why are we letting the bad things come to our head all the time rather than the good stuff. And
I don't get it.
Do that.
I don't get it. People just, it's like they compare. I think for me, I feel like, I value myself. I think I'm an amazing person. And because I value myself, I value people around me. And I think that for me, when I say that's how I feel about it. Because you can't be whole in yourself and then treat other people a particular way, because then you're still broken. That means you're carrying stuff that is now causing you to treat people a particular way. So I think once you work on yourself, and it comes back to exactly what you're saying, you have to do it for yourself, but it has to be you wanting to do it. It has to be you doing the work. I talked to Stanya Davis, my girlfriend, and I say to her all the time, because we talk about doing the work, and we say doing the work. But when you say that, you have to sometimes break that down for people to understand what you mean by doing the work. You understand what I mean?
100%, and that's just it. It has to be something that you want to do, though. You have to want it. I mean, that's just like a relationship. In every relationship, you have to want to make it work. And if you want to make it work, you do what you have to do to make it work. And that's what happens in relationships. You make it work. You do what you got to do. You have to work. Things don't just fall in your lap and say, okay, that's beautiful, that's perfect. No, we have to make it work. In school, we have to work to make it happen. In every relationship, we have to make it work. And at some stage, you have to make it work for those who are looking at you. So they will know that, oh, I see, that's what I have to do. I have to do it like this person because I'm inspired. We got to inspire those who are coming behind us. And that's what relationships is about. We can't be the people who say, well, oh boy, our generation didn't do anything good except row and fight and carry on bad. No, we got to instill in our people, in ourselves first, and then in our friends, and then in our wider community of people that we're in contact with, good values, good non-violent values. We can't be rowing about everything. We got to be able to agree some things, even if that wasn't what we wanted. We got to say, well, you know what? I didn't want this to happen like this, but maybe that's for the best. And sometimes we have to be able to live with some things which might not be what we intended to get in the beginning. And that's what it is. You got to say, okay, for peace sake, that's what I'll do. Or so that you would get ahead, because if I did it, maybe you wouldn't get ahead. And I got to say, you know what, I'll step back so you could get ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. Got to be able to do it.
You cute boy. I like how you saying that. I love how you saying that, like, you got to be able to do it. But girl, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You have some people who will watch this show and be like, yeah, she could say that because she been doing it for 10 years. But I in the middle of this thing and I got to go home to this man. I know he drunk and I know when I get home, he could be carrying on or for the child when they get home. I know my mother ain't cooked nothing and she being out drinking. And because it's not just adults that go through the things. You have children who are minors and all that kind of stuff who are going through stuff too in terms of relationships because you have broken people. It's I like how you say it. Yeah, I like how you say it, and it's different, but it's difficult because when you're looking at the lives of the people I grew up with. Okay, I grew up with a father who was an alcoholic. I thank God that before he passed away, he got the opportunity to give his life to the Lord, and he made a decision he was going to stop drinking and smoking, and he just did it. He just did it all his life for the most part. I know he was an alcoholic and he just did it. But I say that to say this. In being in that environment with my father, being in that environment where I had to come home to that and we had to live with that, him abusing my mother and stuff like that. It's easy to say we have to be kind and stuff like that, but when it's happening, you don't want to be kind. You want to be able to be big enough to beat the crap out of him for hitting your mother and all that kind of stuff. But as you grow older, you get to the point, and then nobody's telling you that when you're younger, because nobody's telling you this. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody's telling you this. So the only thing you're thinking, boy, wait till I get big, I got beat him till he can't stand up. You understand what I'm saying? So we have a lot of people still living in these situations. And my thing is, I know what you're saying is right. I know what you're saying makes sense, but then too, I like to look at it from a reality perspective. And what you're saying, not that what you're saying is not reality. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality is that when you're in those situations, it's difficult to be able to say and be that grown and be that big and be that. I know it takes time. I would say, for me, I would say hearing this or watching this, my first thing would be to people is like, look inside you. What do you want for you? Because if you be angry and if you stay angry and if you carry it with you, it's going to destroy you. Don't you agree?
I agree 100%. Not only that, we have to at some stage know what we want, know we dislike that, but we then need to, when we learn to walk, somebody was holding our hand. We got to find somebody who could hold our hand. We got to find somebody who could help us along the way and carry us along. So we're not going to fall down. We're not going to be mad. We're not going to be angry. We don't want to fight. We want to find somebody who could help us when we're low, when we're weak, and carry us along. And the other thing is, if you have family members who have cancer, you're all trying to help them and get them this and then the next thing. If you have family members who have any acceptable illness, then we're having to get them better. But when we have family members who either are alcoholics or drug abusers or whatever, or some mental stuff, then we have a different attitude. But illness is illness. Addiction is addiction, and that's an illness. And so we got to recognize that too. And we got to get some education. And it's not easy. We got to keep reading about it. And as I say, somebody should be holding our hand this whole time because it's not easy. But we got to help to work with them. We can't just push them out the side. We got to show them some love. And maybe if we show them some love and show them what we're helping them, they're going to try to push us away, but we got to try to. It's relationships.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's important. It's important for us to build good relationships. It's the catalyst for our lives in terms of people who have relationships. The studies have shown will live longer lives. who have good relationships. They live longer because you have the love and the caring and you're giving it and you're getting it. And that's the trade-off that you get from building good relationships, you know. I am fortunate that with my kids, I have amazing relationships with my kids. And I think that in my life, if the tables were turned and that was different, I wouldn't be the person that I am. I'd be so worried and I'd be unhappy because I'd be wondering what's going on with me and my children. But remember now, you said something that's important. I cultivated that relationship because I resigned from my job and I came home and I raised my kids. So I cultivated that relationship now that I'm benefiting from with my kids
Right.
because I invested in that. And that's what you're trying to say. You have to invest in it and you have to make good decisions regarding it. And to this day, my daughter's 29 and my son is 20, and I still cultivate the relationship between me and my kids. I tell my kids I love them every day, just about every day. And if I miss something, I telling them today I love you guys. But I tell them I love them all the time. And I cultivate that relationship with my kids. And I kiss them. My son is be like, on then he said, well, but I kiss him but I'm saying that to say over the years I built that, and if somebody's watching this, I would say to you, even though you may be in a relationship or that's not the best one right now or how you want it to be, what Mrs. Lashley is saying in terms of it's valuable to build a relationship is that you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision that you want to have a better relationship and you want to be better. And then you have to start taking the steps to say, okay, let me decide what's best here to make this relationship work. And then start doing it and do it the next day and do it the next day and do it the next day and do it the next day. And then do it 10 days out and then do it 30 days out because it takes 21 days, they say, to change a habit. So you do it until you get it.
That's right.
And it becomes a part of you. Make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to just keep on keeping on. Absolutely. And it starts with the first step. They mightn't be good, but we have to still show them love and say, you know what? Even though you're an alcoholic, or even though you're abusive, or even though I still love you and I'm trying my best to make this work and so that our relationship will be better. And you feel like, okay, I'm doing all the work, but you got to do all the work because you're the only one who has the strength to do the work. And if you don't have the strength to do it, pull somebody along, let them help you and get the strength, because somebody has to have the strength to do it. That's what relationships about. And it isn't only husband and wife, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. But it's your children, like you said, it's your children. Between you and your children, it's between you and your husband, it's between you and your friends, it's between you and the neighbor, it's between you and your coworkers, it's between you and the guy, like you say, to the grocery store that packs your bag every week. And but the bottom line for me is this is me. This is me. And I put myself here on the table. It's how you treat people. Treat people how you want to be treated. That's the bottom line. I don't want nobody disrespecting me. I don't want nobody hurt my feelings. I don't want nobody doing things that's gonna hurt me. So I'm not perfect either. Please, let me just say it. Your girl ain't perfect. But I try my best. I try my best to treat people the way I want to be treated. I try to be kind and I try to be loving. It isn't reciprocated every time because some people take your kindness and they throw it back at you. But I don't let that, I try not to let that faze me because I look at them and I realize that, hurt people hurt people. And this is something that we have to realize too.
Absolutely.
And then what you say, it's kind of like you have to love them in spite of. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's it. Love them in spite of. And continue. And continue. And they say the water will just wear down the stone. Just keep on doing it.
Yes.
And you'll see the results. It might be the day or tomorrow. It might be till next year, but that's okay. That's what life is about, those relationships. And as I said, I always give an example, and I'll give this one here too, about this guy who was working and he walked to work or walked from the bus stop to work, and this lady used to pass him every day, never pick him up, never gave a ride. And so one day he had gotten a ride with somebody else and they passed. And the lady who passed him every day and never gave him a ride had a flat tire. And so the person who picked him up said, "You want us to stop and you can have to fix the car tire?" He said, "No, she passed me every day every day. I never once gave me a lift. I'm not helping her today. She'll fix that tire or do the best she can. And so he bore that ill will because she never gave him a lift, just passed him by, never said a thing. And so sometimes we could fix that too. I mean, he could have said to her, I see you every day, but do you ever see me? Just break the ice. But he didn't have the strength to do it. And she probably didn't even think about it. Maybe she didn't see him. Maybe in her driving, she just looked straight ahead, and some people do. And so a lot of times we bear ill will towards people for things that they really didn't intend to do or weren't aware that they were doing. And so communication is key in every relationship, and work relationships, home relationships too. We do things and say things, and they're like, "What?"
We do the people at home worse than we do. In a lot of cases, people do the people at home worse than they do the people on the streets, because they're familiar. They say familiarity breeds contempt. So sometimes people treat the people at home worse than they do people on the streets. And I think that that's sad, because for me, that's the place that you spend the majority of your time. So you should try and cultivate that, if nothing else, those relationships, if nothing else. Because I've always said to my family, I always say to them, if you go in the world and the world beats you up and do you anything out there, when you come home, this your refuge right here. I can love upon you and I can take care of you right here where you live. Because this is the thing that now repairs you to go back into that world again. And I believe that. When you go into that world, you need to be with your back held up, and you need to be strong to be able to go back in that world and say, okay, I can face you, because I know when I go back home, I got my love, I got my support, I got what I need. You know what I mean?
100%, but everybody can't say that. And that's the other side of it. A lot of people come home, eat their dinner or read their book or watch their TV show and go to their bed and shut off. And so that's our responsibility, is to engage them, to find out how they're feeling, to make that extra effort in good faith to make sure that they're okay. Because if they're not okay, eventually we're not going to be okay. But a lot of times we don't check if they're okay on a daily basis.
Yes.
And that's what we have to do. We talk about, people meet you on the street, oh, how's your mom? And you say, oh, she's fine. And you don't even know if she's fine. Maybe a lot of people don't even know if their mom fine or not fine. If they saw them today or didn't see them since last week, and you go and say, oh, she's fine, how do you know? We gotta make that effort to say what we know. And if we don't know that our mom's fine, we're not gonna do any better. We got to do better than we're doing. Across the board.
We're out of time, but I want to say that I like the message that you're bringing. I have an idea. We're going to do some more stuff. Moving forward with that arbitration and mediation right there, because that what you have is valuable. You've been trained in it. You're well versed in what it is that needs to be brought to the table, and I think it could be brought to the table in a lot more ways, for families, for relationships, for friendships, for people as individual persons, because it can teach you how to be like. You teach them how to go back and forth without having to get angry, and I think it could help in a lot of ways with the anger of our young men and the anger of our young women, and it could change the world. It can, because you just have to get people to understand, because just like you said, sometimes people don't think that way, that they could be the thing that makes the difference. There's a saying that goes, be the change you want to see in the world. You know what I'm saying? You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And so saying, you have to now do the work to make you better, and then you could make everybody else around you better. If you had one last word to give to my audience, my viewing audience, what would that word be?
Communicate with kindness, not violence. Don't tell people you always do this or you never do that. Just say, I'm so happy to see you today. I hope you're well. Whatever we do, we want it to be well.
Okay. I like how you do it so calm. You're just so calm. I love it. See, the thing is, you're practicing what you're telling us to do. And I love that. That is absolutely amazing. I can see that written all over you. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all the persons that are on the show with me today. I have Mr. Dorrell Butler Roll. I have Miss Dorrell, sorry, Butler Roll. I have Vanessa Hall. I have Nicola Farrington. I have Azalita, Ishmael Nuri. I have Mickey Davel. I have Teresa Major. And there's so many other names, and I know there are people that are watching this, and I want to say to you, it is important that you take care of yourself. And it's important that you do not carry around anger and frustration because it makes you sick. It makes you unhappy. It destroys your life. Let me tell you something. To find a place of peace, like Mrs. Lashley talked about, just being kind to people brings you that place of peace. And it can make your life so much better. I could tell you, stop carrying around anger and all the hurt and all the stuff. You have to make decisions to be better for you. Even if you have to make a decision to say leave a situation, make that decision if it's better for you. You understand what I'm saying? You have to do what is right for you as a human being, as an individual, to be better, to build better relationships so that the world could be better. Be kinder. Mrs. Lashley, thank you so much for being with me. It has been a pleasure. You are going to be one of my new best friends. It has been such an amazing time having you with me. I look forward to us doing some stuff in the future because there's so much things that you have to bring to the table, and I see it in you. Your face looks so kind. You're smiling. I appreciate you so much. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to BWA again for being one of the sponsors, Bahamas Wholesale Agency, for being one of the sponsors of the Whole Woman Show. I'd like to say thank you to Black Opal, Commonwealth Drugs and Medical Supplies, for being a sponsor of the show. The show airs every Tuesday at 1 p.m. And I would like to hope and pray that something that we've said here today and something that is said on the shows that come here makes a difference in the lives of the people who come here to watch it, because it is not about me. I am the conduit, and I try to do what I am been commissioned to do by the Lord. So I pray that you have a blessed day, and I pray that you work towards peace in your life, peace in the lives, to help make peace in your home, with your children, better relationships with your co-workers, your friends, your neighbors, because in this season right now, this pandemic season, we need to be looking after each other and taking care of each other. We are no good alone. You are better when you have a tribe that you build relationship with. Thank you so much, Ms. Lashley. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.